You can't just hear it, write it down in your notebook and close your notebook and go back to work. Go back to the same way you've been doing everything. It's taking action on those things. So within 90 days, we had put in an org structure at that point and ready to go, and brought our first revenue producing guy out of the field to be the an inspector manager, and he was really nervous about that because are you sure you're going to be able to pay me? Like, you're sure
Right.
I'm going to be able to make money by not doing home inspections?
Welcome to the Inspection Empire Builder Podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about building the largest inspection company that the world has ever seen. Oh my gosh, you don't want to miss this episode. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you tuned in today. Today, I'm hanging out with my friend, Cat Lemoine. Cat, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm loving the spring weather, the change out of winter. I don't know, you guys are in the ATL. Does it get cold there in the winter?
I mean, yes, we had actually snow twice this year. So shutting down,
What?
and we don't know how to deal with snow. So shutting down operations for 2 different snowstorms was not fun this year. So yeah, it got cold. It's nice now though.
Yeah, it's back to running again, and the home inspection real estate market has its little ebbs and flows, and it typically slows down a little in winter, picks back up again. So it's nice to be in a growth season again and cranking away and continuing to build our businesses.
100%.
I know you guys have been building something pretty significant. I've heard you guys say you want to build the biggest inspection company the world's ever seen, and you guys have actually done it. But before we get to that, I want to hear, how did you get started in the inspection industry?
Yeah. So my husband is Rob Lemoine. For those who haven't met us before, we've been together since 9th grade, actually. So been married for 27 years almost. So been together quite a while. Yeah. Thank you. That. We kind of got started because Rob's dad started an inspection company in 1989. So we were kind of kiddos at that time, and but we were dating. And so I just learned about it through being around his house, right? And hearing his dad answer the phone in the car with the car phones before we all had iPhones, and learning about it that way. And after college, I actually was a teacher for a few years and then joined the business after that as a client care coordinator, like scheduling inspections and doing all those fun things. So I officially joined the company getting paid, I will say, in 2003. So that's when I joined.
Okay. So 2003, how many inspectors did you guys have going about then?
Back then, 2003, I think we had 6 or 7 at that point. So Rob was inspecting. He started out marketing the company initially and then became an inspector. And I think we had 6 or 7, if I recall.
Yeah, that's a pretty good operation right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then from 2003 till now, which is 23 years later.
Long time,
yeah. 23 years later, how many inspectors do you guys have now across? Do you know how many inspectors are in the entire organization?
So an entire organization, I do not know. I do know in our region, we have, I think it's 84 inspectors as of right now.
That's awesome.
But that is not just in Atlanta, to be clear. Since we mentioned ATL a while ago, that's not just in Atlanta. We have 36 in Atlanta though.
Okay. And so along the way, you got 6 or 7, you're answering the phones, Rob's out doing some marketing, doing some inspections. When did things start to turn and where you guys decided, like, we want to grow something big?
I think Rob's dad, who's Bob Lemoine, he really always had a growth mindset and never wanted to start an inspection company to only be an inspector. He definitely wanted to be a business owner and saw the inspection industry as, an avenue for that. So he always had that growth mindset, I would say. We did grow the company. I think we had 12 or 14 inspectors, and then the 2007 market hit, and we dropped to 50% of our, what we had been to within 6 months. So at the end of 2007, we were back down to probably 6 or 7 inspectors. And then just kind of steadily grew, maybe up to I think we had 11 inspectors in 2015. And I actually
Okay.
stepped out of the home inspection world for about 4 years and went into pest control, and then stepped back in 2015, back to run the company at that time.
Okay. And so in 2015, and then, well, this is interesting. So the vast majority of your growth really happened in
Hmm.
the last 10 years, even though you guys have been doing this for decades.
Hmm. Yes, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It did.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Rob and I, we sold our pest control company in 2014. So we had started a pest control company and sold it, and
Yep.
saw kind of the acquisition path from a seller standpoint at that point, and our team members, and we exited that business completely at that time. And his dad was still running the home inspection company, and so he was ready to retire and said, come back and run this thing. And we said,
Yeah.
okay, as long as we could run it, right, and not,
Right.
kind of be in charge, because we had been in charge, on our own for a while. And so he let us do that, gave us full autonomy, and we stepped on the gas pedal big time. We had learned how to
Yeah.
run a business and how to grow. I would say, like, we knew how to grow. We didn't know how to lead, which I think is two different components, but we knew how to grow. And so we stepped on the gas pedal and grew, like, rapidly over those next few years for sure. So,
Wow.
and that was only in Atlanta at that time.
Okay. And so I love how you make the distinction between growing and leading.
Mhm.
What are some of the things, what are some things that you would say are leadership things that maybe you weren't doing that you had to learn how to do?
Mhm. Well, in my mind, I just differentiate, and this is just my definition, not like real world, but like there's management and there's leadership. And to me, management in my mind means managing tasks, and
Hmm.
leading means leading people. And so we were managing tasks, but we were not leading people at that time. And we were growing so fast to where we had a very flat org chart. It was Rob and I at the top. And then I think at that point it was 22 people,
Oh my
just
gosh.
all reporting to us, right? And just nothing else in the middle.
That sounds like chaos.
It was chaos. Yes.
Oh my
It was
God.
straight chaos. Yeah. And so that was very stressful time, right? You've got people, calling, texting, chatting, whatever mode of communication they can all day, every day.
Well, from anything from what, like my sewer scope's not booting up right now,
Mhm,
which from a guy in the field to
mhm,
someone in the office with a
mhm.
calendar question to somebody else. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
your phone would be going nonstop.
All the time. All the time. Yeah. We worked 7 days a week, 12-hour days constantly. And we're just spinning in the chaos, but we're growing, right? It's good, right? It's all good because we're growing, right? And
Yeah.
really, it was the catalyst for us was joining IEB, and went to RGT as our first event in Houston. At Greg Bryan's old office was our first event, and saw that, oh, you can have an org structure. That's what you do is you have these different divisions with, services, operations, and growth. And like, oh, okay, that's what we should do. And the crazy thing is, like, of course, you're always nervous to bring in non-revenue producing positions,
Yep.
initially and stuff like that. But when we did that, when we set our structure up and brought in the right people, we grew even faster, right? Because
Yeah.
our growth, we were actually the lid, even though we were the ones pressing the gas pedal. So,
Right. Because you only
very
have
good
so much
lesson learned.
capacity, right? As an individual human, you might be excellent at what you're doing, but you only have so many hours. You only have so much energy, and right. And yeah, everything you're doing is excellent, but
Mhm.
there's only so much of it. And
Right.
so being able to lead through other people is such a huge, valuable lesson.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was some of the hard moments in that
Mhm.
transition, if you can think back at that?
Well, I remember. I'm sure these leaders remember too. Chain of command is really hard when you go from being the one leader, or in our case, two at the top, and everybody, and then learning what a chain of command means going up and going down. So, like, if there's a new initiative, we were accustomed to just, like, telling everybody about it. And if they have questions, they come back and, ask me questions or whatever. And now you've got a
Yeah.
leader in there who, now there's a chain of command, right? And so now the message goes through them. Maybe you can announce it all as a team. That's not a problem. But like, explicit instructions go through that leader, and then questions or complaints, whatever they may be, should bubble up through that leader too. And so that
Yeah.
was a difficult transition. Not anybody not trying to respect the chain of command, but just like learning what that means and how it works. So I feel like that was a big challenge for us.
Yeah, well, going from a flat org chart to a
Mhm,
multi-layered org chart, and having been doing it flat org chart for a while, like that,
mhm,
you have a lot of habits you picked up, a lot of patterns of
mhm,
things you've done. You have to unlearn that a little,
uh-huh,
and yeah, no, I think that's incredible. Just not just the other day in my own business, I had
mhm,
someone who was one of our ancillary techs came and talked to me about something going on with their job, and so we talked for a couple of minutes, and I said, hey, have you talked to Rudy,
mm,
the guy that's above
mhm,
you? And like, no, I haven't talked to Rudy. I was like, all right, you need to go
yeah,
and talk to Rudy. I like where you're going, but I had to time out the conversation. And I said, I think it'd be disrespectful to Rudy if you and I
mhm,
continue to talk this way without having him as part of the conversation. And I know you and you know me, and we don't want to be disrespectful. And and like, why don't you go talk to Rudy? And they were like, okay, yeah, sounds great, but the temptation is like, I own this thing. This
oh,
is my company.
right,
I can make the decision.
yeah,
Like, yeah, this
and
is
I can
mine,
fix it right now, you
and I can
right? Like
fix it right now.
yeah,
Exactly. Like, this is an easy fix. I could totally do this, and I
yeah,
could just tell Rudy, hey, we're doing this. But I just tell my team, oh, we're making this change. Right. But how, like, if I'm giving them the responsibility
mhm,
of doing this, then I also need to give them the equal level of authority to do it.
yes, yep,
And yeah. And so that tech went and talked to Rudy. They figured out a solution on their own, fixed it, made all the changes, and nobody ever talked to me about it. They just made all the changes that they needed to make the system run better. Right.
right,
And so for me as a human, as a person, as where I'm at, I was like, I thought that was a win, is that
mhm,
problems come up, they figure that out on their own, they make the changes together, and I didn't hear a peep about it, and the
right,
company's running better. Like,
yep.
isn't that the dream? That's kind of what you want to empower your people to do that.
Absolutely. And the thing is, next time, hopefully that tech has the confidence to go straight to
Yep.
Rudy in that circumstance and know that his concerns will be heard or his ideas will be heard or, whatever that is. And if we don't give people the opportunity to do that on both sides for the technician and the manager or leader or whatever, then they don't have the opportunity to do it. Right. And learn. And even if they would have made the wrong decision at that point, right? Like even if you didn't
Right.
agree with what happened, that's okay because then, they can be guided to the right one the next time. And then again, you're back out of it instead of being right in the middle of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think every one of us starts a business thinking, I want my time freedom and financial freedom. And we
Yep.
start our business thinking, oh, this is a way for me to make a little more money for my family and maybe to have more time freedom. And it's like, I'm going to go to all my kids' sporting events. I'm going to be there for
Mm,
everything. And then pretty soon you don't own a business. The business owns you, and it's driving. And then all of a sudden, like 7 days a week, I'm just sleeping and working. I did the same thing, just sleeping
yep.
and working 7 days a week. And I'm like, this is not what I'm signing up for. If you add up how many hours I'm working, it's like I'm making like almost minimum wage because I'm working
Right.
so much, and I'm like, I'd be better off working for somebody else. This is crazy.
Right.
And so then, yeah, when you build and you figure out leadership and how to lead a team, like all of a sudden things start to change. And I learn more in my failure sometimes than I do in my success. And I
Hmm.
think our team needs to learn that too. And so when they need the freedom to make the mistake and learn from it, because they'll learn more from that too.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's really important when you're first bringing on leaders to have those guardrails that they can have autonomy within. Right. But it's not like
Yes.
they are the owner of the business. So they don't get like just full do whatever you want. It's
Right.
not their money and their liability at that point. But yes, like giving them those guardrails. So, like in these guardrails, then I want you making those decisions and figuring out the solutions. So, yeah, I think that's a great part.
Yeah. All right. So you go from a flat org chart to adding some layers.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
helped a lot, and that helped the business grow even faster. Um,
absolutely.
and that was with coming into IEB. And so, what year was that when you went to the RGT training?
It was December 2018.
Okay.
So we weren't like OG IEV people, but we were close behind.
Yeah, you were very near the beginning for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think at that point I hadn't started my business yet. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
started
So
my
we
business in 2019.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're, yeah, not even in business yet. So yeah, I
Right.
mean, we got the opportunity to go to the RGT and kind of opened our eyes. And, I think a big thing that led to us being able to continue to grow was taking action from attending that, right? Or, the lessons that we learned from there. You can't just hear it, write it down in your notebook and close your notebook and go back to work, go back to the same way you've been doing everything. It's taking action on those things. So within 90 days, we had put in an org structure at that point and ready to go. And brought our first revenue producing, guy out of the field to be the, an inspector manager. And he was really nervous about that because, are you sure you're going to be able to pay me? Like, you're sure
Right.
I'm going to be able to make money by not doing home inspections. And so,
Yeah.
but that he is phenomenal to this day and has a different position now, but still leading the charge all over the country, actually, with inspectors and training them and all of that. So it's very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have my first non-revenue generating inspector position. So Danny
Yep.
he was my lead inspector, but he was in the field still. And I
Mm-hmm.
and I gave him a little extra monthly stipend to be the lead inspector, to essentially be managing the team out
Yep.
in the field and kind of being a technical resource. And so he got his and we pay by commission. So he had his
Mm-hmm.
commission and he had a monthly stipend in addition to that to help. And
Right.
and we're at that tipping point of like, it's time to bring him out of the field. And we had the same
Yeah.
conversations. And it's like, he's like, okay, we sure we can afford this, and same exact conversations. And so I said, here's where we get, like, I get brutally honest. Like, let's open up the books. Let's literally look
Right.
at the P&L statements. Let me show you exactly what's going on deep in the company financially. And so when you mapped it out, and it was like both of us felt very comfortable that if things continue as they are, we're going to have no problem. But what we've done is we've actually grown radically over the last 6 or 9 months that he's been working his way out. He's out of the
Mm-hmm.
field now, but it's we've grown more recently than we have. The rate of growth accelerated once he got out of the field and started becoming
Mm-hmm.
a leader. So he now is technically, he's our general manager is how we have it set up.
Yeah.
And so he's our general manager. He oversees operations and field services, and
Mm-hmm.
and so he's overseeing all that and doing a great job with it. But that leap of faith of like pulling a guy out of the field and be full, like a non-revenue generating employees, every one of them,
Yeah.
it's like, man, here we go.
Mm-hmm. It's hard, but I think it depends on where you want to get to, right? Like you want to continue to grow your company. And so you do have to take those steps. If you're at, a plateau, or you're like at your point where you want to be, maybe you don't want to take that leap, and that's okay, right? Like that's fine if that's your choice as a business owner. For somebody who doesn't want to take that leap or that gamble or whatever, that's totally fine too. So for us, we found that once you hit about 11 or 12 inspectors, not having somebody full-time out of the field definitely puts strain, because they can straddle both, like you're saying, field work and management, and leadership, but it's really difficult, and you're not going to get the most out of either one, right? They're not going to be the best inspector at that point, nor are they going to be the best leader at that point. That's kind of how we have it structured. And then they can typically manage up to about 20 inspectors. Like one manager, field
Okay.
manager can. That's kind of the formula we found that has worked for us. And then if we ever go through a market where it dips back down, and we go like, in one of our markets we go less than 10 inspectors or whatever, then they start doing field work again, because now there's time to be able to
Right.
do a few inspections a week, or whatever like that. So when you're opening up those books and making that decision, also having it to where, like, okay, at what point do we not afford this anymore, right? And when do
Yeah.
the responsibilities change? And having that, I think you're beyond that point in your size, but when somebody's first stepping into that and trying to figure that out, I think that's an important consideration, is like, hey, what happens if we have, a market decline? What do we do
Yeah.
about that? And the real estate transactions dry up some, like, we need to have a backup plan too for this non-revenue producing position.
Oh, I think that's really smart. No, I actually have 10 people in the field. And so I have 10 inspectors. So I'm at that point of
Yep.
like you say, like I'm right at that kind of tipping point of
Yeah.
doing this. And we just
But it
did it.
sounds like he's more responsible for more than just the inspectors too, from
He
what you
is.
described.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
for sure, he
Yeah,
doesn't have
he's
time to
responsible
do
for more than
that.
that. No,
Yeah.
no, he's not going back out into the field
Yeah.
unless something really dips hard, like if
Right.
another 2007 like crisis were to
Yes.
happen, or something in
Terrible.
massive market shift would have to happen
Yep.
for that to happen, for him to go back out into the field. So I don't, but hey, if it happens, it happens,
Right.
That's out of our, a lot of stuff is out of our control,
Yeah.
like in a business environment, it's like you can only control what you can control. I can't control. There's so many things I can't control. And it's like, okay, so all I can do is just basically control what is available to me, what options are in front of me,
Right.
and doing that. Yeah. Hopefully we continue to grow upward and
Hmm.
life keeps going well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's okay. So you guys got your first non-revenue generating guy out, helping to run things. Things are clicking along. And so then now you have what, 10, 12 inspectors. You're continuing to grow.
Yeah. I think at that point we had 18
Okay.
inspectors when we finally
18.
pulled him out, 18.
Okay.
And we used a call center. So we were not answering phones in house. We used a call center, and we had one, what we call a growth representative, right? So growth rep out in the fields. So we decided at that point, after joining our IEB, was to pull Jim out of the field, have him managing the inspectors. We decided to bring calls in-house actually. And so we kind of created an in-house client care team, hired another growth rep. So we kind of started on multiple things, and we didn't have a leader over each division yet because, if we had two growth reps, like one was
Right.
definitely not a leader. Like we didn't hire a leader. We just had two reps. And so we still managed them. Right. And so
Right.
we're kind of the general managers, but we did have like a client care manager and a few reps there, and then obviously the inspectors. So at that point we kind of got organized. We got our org structure. Everybody had a job description and knew what they were supposed to do, implemented some KPIs, like all of that kind of like business 101 stuff that we were missing, that we just had not implemented in the home inspection world. Even though we had done it in the pest control world, there was a formula to follow in the pest control world that we had not found in the home inspection world. And so then we
Right.
found it, right, in IEB, which was great.
Yep.
And then we just kind of started talking to our people and found out, that other people wanted to do things the way we did. And so Jim was the one we had pulled out of the field. He's like, I really think we should expand Residential Inspector of America is our Atlanta company, so RIA beyond Atlanta. And that's when our first acquisition came into place. Actually, it was my childhood best friend's brother who lived in
Okay.
Charleston, South Carolina. And I was actually inviting him to IEB, and he's like, I just really don't want to be a business owner anymore. He had 4 inspectors. And so we're like, well, like, do you hate inspecting? He's like, no, I love it. I just don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to do all the things by myself. And so that was our very first partnership. Actually, it wasn't our first, but it was our first out of town partnership that we did. And
Yeah.
his business was step-by-step inspections in Charleston, and then their team joined ours. And that was kind of how we got into the world of expansion, I would say,
Got it.
was through there. And that was really from Jim having a conversation with Eric. He had actually trained Eric 10 years prior to that by doing 3 ride-along days. Eric came
Okay.
and rode along with Jim in Atlanta after 3 days, then you're ready to become an inspector, right? And obviously
That's all it takes.
that's all it takes. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, then obviously he went through classes and self-taught and some other stuff, but that was kind of his
Right.
initial foray. And so they kind of talked about that, and that was our first out-of-town expansion at that point.
Nice. And I know over time you guys had additional expansions. You grew into other states and other markets as RIA. And then there was a point where the Launchpad idea started to really come to life.
Yep.
Right before that happened, how big of a company had RIA grown to? Because it was pretty large.
Yeah, our total revenue was about 9 million. We had about 80 team members across our markets. We were in 4 markets at that time, and we actually were back into pest control at that time. So between the pest control side and the other markets, we were 80. I don't remember the exact number, 80 something team members between all
Okay.
3 services, growth, and operations at that point. So,
That's a
and that
pretty
was
big inspection
20.
company. That's a pretty big
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
that
of the
was.
biggest. I think it
Go
was,
ahead.
there's you guys and there's another company in California that were pretty large. And I remember meeting you guys during that season when you guys were pretty large. I didn't realize you had really done the massive amount of your growth in a really short time.
Yeah,
I
we
knew
did.
that Rob's dad had done it. I guess I just randomly assumed that it had
Yeah.
just like steadily grown over the course of 20, 25 years when really it was explosive growth over the last 6 years or
Right.
something. Wow.
Yeah. So in 2015, in January of 2015, when we took back over, 2014's revenue was 1.1 million is what it was. And then by the time we hit 2022 is when we went to 9 million. So
Wow.
that's, yeah,
That's
whatever
very
that, I don't
rapid.
know that percentage or anything.
I don't
Like,
know
that's
either.
not
It's a
my,
lot.
whatever.
Yeah. It's a lot of percentage right there. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic growth. Wow. That's unbelievable. And so then tell me how Launchpad kind of came about. And was that your guys' idea, or how did everything come together there? I know a little bit of the story, but
Hmm.
I'd love to hear because you were
Sure.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, like I said, we had been on the selling end of our original pest control company, and in 2014, it was a terrible experience. It was not good for us as a seller. It was terrible for our team members, who that was a really small business. It was only 12 team members at that time. And so we were really close, it's like a family at that point, right? And so they
Yeah.
had a terrible experience. And so we had always said, we're never selling another company again, right? Because that's what you say when something bad happens, is you're never doing it again. But then
Never
you
gonna do
kind
that
of,
again. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of like live through it. It's kind of like labor when you give birth to a child. You're like, I'm never doing that again until the next time you do. So, and then through our partnerships that Rob and I had done, we learned how to handle it better. So when we did those expansions, we never lost a team member, and like retained all of the previous team members in the acquisitions that we did, because we knew what it felt like when our
Yeah.
team had experienced that years before. And so we designed a process and a system to not allow that to happen, honestly. And there's just a way that you can do that to make people feel comfortable with you. So Rob's philosophy has always been, you take every meeting, you have every conversation. There's nothing, if nothing comes out of the conversation, you at least learned a part of a process you didn't know, or you learned what you don't, want to do, or
Right.
whatever. There's always a lesson to be learned out of any conversation that you have, and
Yeah.
any meeting you have. So that's kind of been his approach. He's taught me to do that because I'm not always as open-minded. So I have learned that. Um, but yeah, this whole thing came about where it wasn't even Launchpad at the time. It had a different name. But I was like, I don't want to do that. What are you talking about? I don't want to be part of a big organization or whatever. And he's like, we take the meeting. And so we took the meeting, and it was very interesting. When we did join IAB and you do your MBVC and all that, like, our vision was to build the biggest, largest home inspection company in the history of the world. So that was what we were aiming to do. And like you said, there was a California company right ahead of us. So this company that came in, which is now known as Launchpad, they just had some really interesting things and goals. And what we found through multiple conversations and meetings, because one did lead to another, it's not like you have one
Mm-hmm.
meeting and it's over.
Right.
We learned that we're very aligned in what those goals could look like. And one of our big things has always been opportunity. And so that's why we expanded when we did before Launchpad. It was never because we wanted the RIA name in other states, because actually we maintained the brand names of what we acquired. So it wasn't like this is an ego thing for us to get our company name out, or this isn't for Rob and I to make more money. It was always about an opportunity for our current team members and team members that we bring on, because if you stay a certain size, you can't have leaders. And it's
Right.
really hard to attract high level talent, because what are they going to do? Manage 4 people, or whatever for
Right.
forever. It's a great starting point. But if that's all you've ever got, it makes it really difficult. And so we were figuring out that partnerships was going to be a way to do that. And then when Launchpad came about, we really had a lot of goals that aligned, and knew that it would be an amazing opportunity for our current team members. And there are several of them who've been able to just do so much, which we can explore if you want to. But yeah, and so it was opportunity for our people, and then it was aligned goals, which is what kept us in the conversation. And then ultimately, after about, I'm going to say 6 months, is when we did close and officially sell the company to Launchpad. And that was February of 2023. And Rob and I did stay on to manage it. So it's not like we retired or, are doing anything different. So we are still
Right.
managing our same people that we were then, in addition to more than doubling the size of our team members now. So, of who is in our kind of leadership structure.
Right. Yeah. That's really interesting. And so yeah, I own an inspection company, and I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I've been watching and running this podcast. We get the opportunity to talk to lots of people, and I've been watching the Launchpad group kind of continue to partner with additional inspection companies, and having been in meetings with Launchpad myself, even. And then watching the process happen and unfold, and then talking to other friends who have been through the process as other business owners. One thing I can say for certain is that the way that Launchpad approaches acquisitions, I guess, but it's acquisitions, but it's partnerships. It's just the working togetherness of the way you guys approach it is so refreshing. And I have friends that have said this was a right fit for me, and they went ahead and joined. And I have friends that said this isn't quite the right fit for me, and decided not to join into the Launchpad thing. Watching the thing grow, watching Launchpad grow, watching it kind of people looking at the opportunities. Some saying this works, some saying it doesn't, and how you guys have handled it really with a lot of grace and a lot of open-handedness and open-mindedness with it. It's been really refreshing, because I've had other companies approach me trying to buy my business, and they don't approach it that way. And it's like, yeah, listen, I'm not really in the market to sell. Like, that's not really what I'm trying to do right now. And like, you called me, don't be a jerk, but you guys, the way that the whole attitude and culture inside of Launchpad is really refreshing to see. And so anyhow, I can tell you from my perspective, watching that happen has been it's been, I think, a really positive thing to the industry. And it's not a typical private equity takeover type group. It's very different. Very different. I've watched private equity takeovers in other industries, other businesses, and it gets ugly real fast. You had a bad experience selling, right? And sometimes the new owner comes in on a private equity move, and they just come in with a hatchet and just start chopping things apart. And you're like, dude, this is what built this business. You know what you're doing. It's hurting people and team members and everything else. And it's hard to watch, but I can say with everything I've watched with Launchpad, everybody who's part of the organization loves it and loves the decision that they made going forward with it.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, it's not for everybody, nor is any particular answer right for everybody, right? So I mean, like, our goal is to provide an option for people who do want to either exit, they're at the age where they want to exit their business and leave their people in a safe environment, right? So things aren't going to get chopped or, like things like that. Or people who want to stay and who want to have, even a bigger opportunity than they could as a single owner, right? So we have, some people that have joined who were owners and who did not exit, but now they're leading a far larger group than they were even in their own company. So I think that, it can be the right fit for people. And then it also is not something that people want to do right now. And we all stay friends, right? Like, we're still hanging out at events, and I have great friends who have declined to be part of Launchpad. I'm like, that's cool, man. We're still friends. I'm still sharing stuff with you. You're still sharing stuff with me. And, and it's all good. So yeah, I definitely don't think it's for everybody, but it is an option. And I would encourage people, just like you said, like, have a conversation and make that decision for yourself. Don't ever go off of what you hear or, like what's going around or whatever. And if it's not something you're interested in at all, you don't have to have a conversation at all. But if you just want to know, then that conversation never hurts. So
that's
never
kind
hurts. Of the approach. Yeah.
Absolutely. Taken. I take the same approach as what you were saying Rob has, in the sense of like, just take the meeting. Like, it's not going to hurt anything to have a conversation with somebody. Some of the best things in my life came from meetings I wasn't planning on going to, and doors open, opportunities happen. And I'm in the middle of one right now in a different business venture where a door just opened, and from a conversation that I just was kind of random, and just having an open mind and approaching life that way, you end up with opportunities that come across your doorstep that maybe wouldn't have before. And so I'm always a big fan of take the meeting, have the conversation. I think that's a great way to approach life. And maybe you walk out with something great. Maybe you don't,
Right.
You make a new friend, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And, I think it all depends on your mindset, because you can always learn something. You can either learn something to do it better or how you don't want to do it. Right. And so I think it's just always taking, any event or, even like an IEB session or whatever, like, you're not probably ever going to get the one, magic bullet that's going to change your life or change your business, but you can take a little piece here from every meeting, every class, every session, whatever it is, and apply it and get better. So,
Yeah. And you said that now a few times is applying
mhm,
it, right?
mhm,
It's not just the information, it's the application of that information. And
yep,
there's no shortage of information now. None.
that's
Like
so true.
we have so much access to so much with social media and YouTube and online courses and mastermind groups like IEB.
Mhm,
You can go to all these different places and learn all these different things, but the difference is just, are you applying it or not?
right.
And it's really not how much you know, it's how much you're willing to do and put into place. And so I think that application process, that's where a lot of people get caught up, I think, is
Mhm,
they kind of know what to do, but they don't actually get it done. And
yeah. Well, I
yeah.
think some people also get a little bit confused about what they should take action on, right? So if you
Yeah.
go to like a mastermind event, it's 3 days, there's so many notes, your notebook is so full. And then, like, what do I take action on? And it's figuring out those like most impactful things because you can't take action on everything. So it's just
Right.
figuring out the discernment on, what you should take action on and then applying it, following through, holding yourself accountable, getting somebody to hold you accountable to make sure that gets done. I do think that is important.
Yeah, I think so too. And then with leadership development, grabbing your leaders too. So, like at
Mhm,
the last IEB conference, I had some leaders with me there, and afterwards, it was like, hey, we're at the end of the event. It was like, hey, think about this, like let it cook, crock pot it. We'll have a
mhm.
meeting later,
Yep.
and let's talk about like what are our biggest takeaways. And I said let's have all our biggest takeaways, and then let's prioritize which ones we can
Mhm,
knock off or what's going to have the biggest impact, and let's hit it from there. And so we did that. We all left and went home, and then we had a meeting a little while later talking about, okay, what have we learned, and what are the things we should put into action. And there's lots of shiny objects when you go to
yes.
these things, right? You walk down the vendor hall, and there's so many amazing tools and gadgets and software and all the different things, and they're all incredible, and
Right.
then you're hanging out in the sessions and listening to people from the main stage, and oh man, these ideas are amazing, and the breakouts, and they're incredible, and the
Mhm,
hallway conversations and the relationships, and you walk away so energized and packed full of 100 amazing ideas. And then at the end of it
mhm,
all, you have to settle and go, okay, what's going to really move the needle? What's the
mhm.
problem that I'm facing right now
Yeah.
that needs to get addressed? You know, should we have different inspection software? I don't know. That new software looks really shiny. It really looks cool.
Mhm.
But is
Yeah.
that really what my problem is right now?
Right.
That is not a bottleneck in my business.
Right.
The software isn't in mine. Like it isn't there.
Mhm.
Mine in my issues, it was client care and scheduling and managing phones. That was one of our biggest like issues that we're working through.
Right.
And so how are we going to restructure? So then it's like, okay, you got to really focus. Like, what is it that really needs to
Yes.
move the needle right now? And I think it's easy to get distracted with the shiny things, and you can spend all your time and energy on getting software switched over, and maybe that's
Mhm.
solving a problem, but
Right.
oftentimes we put our energy into stuff that isn't really solving a problem, but it's fun to work on for us.
Yeah, it seems fun. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's times that you can create a problem for yourself that didn't exist, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, 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 yeah. I do think we've all probably been guilty about that at some
Yep.
point or another, like chasing that shiny object or trying to fix a problem that didn't exist. And so, I do
Yep.
think that is something, as owners, you have to learn. But like you said, you've got to impart that to your leaders too, and teach them how to think through what's most impactful for that they see for team members or for the business as a whole.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a really great way to do that is take all your notes, marinate on that, and then let's put it all up on the board and then let's start figuring out, oh, this one was your top priority, that was my 2. Okay, now it makes sense. Not that
Yep.
it was your top and my bottom or whatever. So,
Yeah.
getting aligned on that is important. Yeah.
I think that's really good, and that goes back to leadership development
Mhm.
and allowing your people to stretch those muscles and work those muscles and to be able to grow.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, and if as a leader, if I'm always making all the decisions, then I don't ever let them lead. Right. Because sometimes people can have a deep org chart on paper, but
Yeah.
the reality of how it actually works is it's still a flat org chart. Everything lands at the top again. And
Yes.
and so we're not developing leaders if we don't give them the opportunity to fail and
Right.
to make decisions and to do that. Yeah, and
Yep.
you guys know this very well. I mean, you now that you guys continue to grow and grow and grow, like, you've had to learn a lot of leadership stuff really quickly to be able to accomplish everything you guys have accomplished.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because, when we do meetings with potential partners, and if they do have like a high level general manager or something like that that attends the meeting, you can tell if they're truly have that autonomy by who's answering the questions and who knows the information.
Yeah.
Because if you have a high level leader that knows their numbers and they're actually making decisions, then they have the majority of the answers, may not know everything, but they know the majority of the answers. And then if you have a situation where they say, I don't know, or they're continually deferring to the owner, then you know really who's leading. So
Yep.
we've encountered that a few times. So title does not always equate responsibility. And so I do think that that's something we can get better at as leaders is if we're going to hand somebody the title, we got to hand them the responsibility too.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I think it's a struggle for everyone, myself
Hmm.
included, but that's something I've had to really
Yeah,
work on the last few years was,
same.
yeah. And at the last conference, I had a session from the
Hmm.
stage and I talked about like responsibility and authority and how you have to be able to hand the stuff off as a package. And if you mismatch it,
Yeah.
it's super frustrating for everybody. And
Yep.
in order to make a really well-oiled machine, you got to be able to learn how to do that. And you got to teach your leaders how to do that to the people in their org chart as
Correct.
well. Yeah,
Yep.
because even if I'm doing it to my top leaders and my top leaders aren't doing it to the sub leaders, you got to get it trickling down all the way through, and so the principles work all the way through. And
Yep.
and that's how you build a great company, right? Is that
Yes.
org chart, and then you can
Yep.
own the business, and the business doesn't own you.
Yes. Yeah. Got to get
And
back to that where the
that
time
is the
doesn't.
dream.
Yes. Constantly.
Yeah. So are you still working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, like you were back then?
I am not doing that. I
Good.
am, there are certainly longer days than others and things like that. But we do have a fantastic leadership team. We are in 8 different markets now that Rob and I are responsible for. Have about 200 team members, over 20 million, annual revenue that we're responsible for. So
Mm-hmm.
we can't do that anymore, right? You can't sustain that anyway. But yeah, it's been really fun, very exciting getting to, partner with different people and providing our team members opportunities that they didn't have. One of our partnership, she was a team member, she was a growth rep for one of our partnerships, and she now is our growth divisional leader with 20, I think 22 on her team.
Wow.
So what an opportunity for her to be
Right.
able to grow into that role. Our first non-revenue producing inspector that we pulled out of the field, Jim,
Uh-huh.
is now working across Launchpad actually, and not just in our Southeast region. And he does what we call an alignment. So when a new company joins Launchpad, there are certain things that we need to align, right? So our numbers match and things like that. And he works with inspectors to make that as smooth as possible. He was an inspector for 20 years. He knows exactly what they're going through. And
Yeah.
so he is in Connecticut as we speak, helping a new company there and their inspectors join the Launchpad team. So it's just incredible opportunities that Rob and I could have never just provided on our own to these
Right.
people and just the business acumen that they've gained by working with private equity. We do have a great PE partner, RP, who's just been amazing to all of our team, but they have taught us. I mean, I didn't know all of this stuff either. Like they've taught us
Right.
all different financials and, so really giving us lifetime knowledge, not even in the home inspection industry. So it's definitely been a cool journey for Rob and I individually and for our team members and just getting to meet so many different people and now work with people across the country, out in Texas and in Phoenix and Denver and, all different states,
Yeah.
up in, we've got Northeast team members now and leaders that we get to learn from. And so that's really cool is that we're able to learn from each other, on a more day-to-day basis than we get to experience in IEB. So it's just been a great experience for us to walk this path out and
Yeah.
continue
So
to
what so
expand.
what's your role inside of Launchpad? What do you do specifically?
So I'm actually the regional president of the Southeast. So, we have 200 team members. Rob's official title is VP of Mergers and Acquisitions for Launchpad now. So we were like co-presidents, and he has recently moved into that role as we continue to have more partnerships across the US. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I am I guess maybe the general manager would be the best thing, because I do have a partner, Sarah Crydell, who helps with all of that. And then we do have our divisional leaders as well who are responsible. Like our services director has 80, 84 inspectors under him now, multiple field
Wow.
managers. So we do have that mid-level management client care team. We have a client care divisional leader there, and then our growth division leader. So we have some great leaders across there, and it's just been cool. And I will have to say, another team member who he actually was a general manager of one of our partnerships. So I think he had a team of about 12 that he was responsible for, is now working at the Launchpad level. So he's no longer on my direct team, which of course broke my heart after working with him
Yeah.
for several years. But he is now working on our software team. So as a project manager, so Ryan got to move from, being our project integrator and stuff like
Hmm.
that, to at the Launchpad level being able to help all partnerships and all companies that we have. And what an amazing opportunity that I could not have provided for him, nor his former owner, who was Wally Conway. Wally couldn't have provided that for him either. So it's really cool to see these things happening, and them getting to experience things that I couldn't have done. So
That
yeah,
is so
it's
cool.
it's been fun.
Wow. What a great journey. I am excited to see how far Launchpad goes. And it's
Yeah.
been really cool hearing like all the way from your ninth grade freshman year all the way up till now of how your whole life has been building and just getting
Yeah.
bigger and bigger. And it's really cool to watch it from my perspective and to hear your story today. I imagine there's people here that maybe are interested in what you're talking about with
Hmm.
Launchpad or maybe something else in general. If someone wants to get a
Yeah.
hold of you, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
So I am just on Facebook. It's like the best way to get in touch with me, Facebook Messenger. But also my email address is Catherine at residentialinspector.com. So that's another way to get in touch with me. But yeah, Facebook is, I'm just not on Instagram and Snap and all the other things. I don't even know
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be on TikTok. I don't know. I don't have time for it right now. So I'm just not there. But I'm still in the old school Facebook. So I'm happy to connect with anybody. Love to talk about this. Sometimes I am in meetings more, and it takes me a couple days to get back to people, but I love talking about this journey. I was a coach for women of IEB for 5 years. And so
Hmm.
love to talk about leadership and women in the industry, and what we can all do to drive this industry forward. I've been around for a really long time, been at the ASHI conferences where women were not supposed to be even in the rooms. They were supposed to be on the, little tours now, or whatever, at the nail salon. And I would be one of the very few women sitting in the room. So I love to see our industry now. And at IEB, the room is like half and half of women and
Yeah.
men, and making this a stronger industry. So that is definitely a passion of mine. So happy to connect. Would like to encourage, if you are in IEB, to please send your women any women in your company to the Women of IEB call on first Thursdays. I'm not leading it anymore, but I was on
Right.
it this morning. First Thursday at 10 o'clock Central. So
Nice.
that's open to all team members and not just leaders or owners.
I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
Kat, it's been great having you on the show.
Yes.
And thanks for being here today and taking the time. And I look forward to
Yeah.
catching up with you again soon in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All
Love it.
right. Bye.